Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Flashback Comics. I am your host, Troy David Phillips, here at Flashback in Woodbridge, Virginia. And today, me and my good friend Thor Odin's son, the mighty Thor, also the unworthy Thor, we're gonna set some stories straight for you. Now, if you're a fan of the Thor comics, you know that they originate from inspirations taken from the Viking legends of Norse mythology. And maybe you've seen the Thor Ragnarok series, which seems to deviate even farther from its mythological origins. So let's take a look at some of these things. First off, let's take a look at the relationship between Thor and Loki. Now in the comics, Loki is the adopted son of Odin. He is Thor's adopted brother. But actually in Norse mythology, Loki is the blood brother to Odin. Odin, from his high seat in Asgard, looked across into Jotunheim and saw Loki and thought he would be a good addition to the Norse pantheon. So he went to Loki, approached him, and they formed a bond, a pact. Loki is actually, by the virtue of this ritual blood mingling, Loki is actually Thor's uncle. But he did go on several adventures with Thor, and in fact, Loki features prominently in Norse mythology, often getting Asgardians into trouble and then using his wit and his wiles to get them out of trouble. A certain number of times, Loki running his mouth is what started a problem, but Loki would quickly and cleverly figure a way out. It is, in fact, Loki's practical prank on Thor's girlfriend Sif that caused the creation of Odin's spear and Thor's hammer. Another one of Loki's pranks gone awry was the birth of Odin's six-legged horse. I won't go into all of these things, but there are a great number of Norse mythology texts that you could check out. I recommend the Dwalier's Norse Gods and Giants, not least amongst any of these. Loki has 3 children. One of them is the Fenris wolf, one of them is the Midgard serpent Jormungandr, and one of them is Hel. Hel is known as Hela in the Thor comics, and we see Hela in Thor Ragnarok. Now in Ragnarok, Hela is made to be Odin's daughter, and I'm certain that for storytelling purposes, this made more sense. In comics, Hela is actually said to be Loki's daughter, along with Fenris wolf. You see Kate Blanchett as Hela riding on that giant wolf. That's the Fenris wolf. The wolf whom in mythology would swallow Odin whole and be killed by one of Odin's other sons, the silent one known as Vidar. That is Hela and her 2 siblings. The 3 siblings together are part of the Ragnarok story, which brings about the end of Asgard and Surtur setting fire to the entire 9 worlds. And that brings me to Surtur. We see Surtur in Thor Ragnarok, and he is this enormous giant of a flame, not unlike the Balrog of J.R. Tolkien's Lord of the Rings stories. Surtur is one of the oldest beings in Asgardian mythology. Surtur, with his giant sword, Twilight, will set to fire the entire 9 worlds, and that brings the Viking saga to a close. Surtur is, in comics, significantly more powerful than Thor, not easily defeated by Thor Odin's son all by himself. In fact, Odin, with the Odin power, Loki and Thor together are just barely enough to hold Surtur at bay. So there you have that, setting the story straight. Now, Norse mythology is extremely interesting, but it's also extremely complex and extremely rich and extremely long. Now that you have started, perhaps with the comics, perhaps with the movies, it's time to open up a book and crack into some Norse mythology.